Imagine losing the woman you love at 23 years old. She dies in your arms and you feel her last breath leave her body. Then just 18 months later, cancer returns to take your mother. The woman who gave you everything, who believed in you when nobody else did. You rebuild your life over decades. You find love again. You start a family. You think maybe the nightmare is finally over. Then cancer comes back a third time to steal your wife. 3 women, 3 battles, 3 losses. All to the same disease. And that is not even counting the sudden shocking death of your teenage son. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. This sounds like a screenplay written by someone who does not understand that audiences need hope. But this is not fiction. This is not a movie plot designed to make you cry. This is the real life of John Travolta, the man who made us fall in love with dancing in Saturday Night Fever in Greece, the icon who defined cool for an entire generation. Behind that $1 million smile and those legendary dance moves lies a story of grief so deep that most people cannot even comprehend it. For over 40 years, cancer has haunted John Travolta like a curse he cannot break. It has stolen from him again and again, always wearing the same devastating mask, always taking the women he loves most. Breast cancer specifically has carved a path of destruction through his life that would break most men completely. But somehow John Travolta is still standing, still fighting, still choosing to live even when life has given him every reason to give up. At 70 years old, after burying 3 women he loved and losing his son in a tragic accident, John Travolta is finally learning to live again. He is rediscovering joy, making new memories with his children, showing the world what true resilience looks like. But the question everyone is asking now is simple and profound. After everything cancer has taken from him, how does someone survive? What does the future hold for a man who has danced with grief for 4 decades? And what can his story teach us about surviving the unsurvivable? The year was 1976. John Travolta was just 23 years old and making waves in Hollywood. He had landed a role in a TV movie called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. He played a teenager with a compromised immune system. It was the kind of tearjerker that networks loved, and John was perfect for the part. But nobody expected what would happen behind the scenes. Nobody could have predicted that this movie would introduce John to a love so deep that losing it would change him forever. Enter Diana Hyland, an established actress cast to play his mother in the film. She was 41. He was 23. Despite the 18-year age gap and despite her playing his mom on screen, something sparked between them that neither could ignore. John was completely smitten from day one. Years later, he would tell reporters that he thought he had been in love before, but he had not. Not really. Not like this. From the moment he met Diana, he was attracted to her in a way he had never experienced. They were like 2 maniacs, he said, talking constantly on set, connecting on every level. Within a month, their friendship had blossomed into romance. It was intense and passionate and all-consuming. For young John, it felt like destiny. He had found someone who understood him, who matched his energy, who made him feel truly alive for the first time. Diana brought sophistication and wisdom to his youthful enthusiasm, and together they were planning a future. But there was something Diana had not told John at first, something that would change everything. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer back in 1975 and had undergone a mastectomy. When they started dating, she believed the worst was behind her. She had every reason to hope that she had beaten it, that they would have time to build the life they were dreaming about together. John was busy filming Saturday Night Fever, the movie that would make him a global superstar. He and Diana were picking out houses, making plans to move in together. Marriage was on the table. Their future seemed impossibly bright. Then Diana's health started to decline, rapidly and terrifyingly. The cancer had spread, and the prognosis went from hopeful to devastating in what felt like moments. Diana did not know she was dying for sure until about 2 weeks before the end. Just 2 weeks to process that everything you had planned and everything you had hoped for was about to be ripped away. John flew back to Los Angeles to be with her. He left behind the movie that would define his career because nothing mattered except being by her side. On March 27, 1977, Diana Hyland died in John's arms. He was holding her, feeling her life slip away. Later, he described feeling the breath go out of her. At just 23 years old, John Travolta experienced a loss that most people do not face until much later in life, if ever. He had found real deep consuming love, and cancer had stolen it from him. The next 10 weeks were the hardest of his life up to that point. He was grieving and processing and trying to understand how life could be so cruel. But what John did not know was that this was just the beginning. Cancer was not done with him, not even close. If losing Diana was not devastating enough, fate had another punch ready to throw. Just 18 months after Diana passing, as John was still finding his footing in grief, cancer came back into his life. This time through the one person who had always been his foundation, his mother, Helen Travolta. Helen was not just any mom. She was the reason John had a career in entertainment at all. Born Helen Cecilia Burke, she had been an actress and singer herself. She performed with a radio vocal group called the Sunshine Sisters. She even appeared in small roles, including playing a lady in a paint store in Saturday Night Fever, her son breakthrough film. Helen was the spark that ignited the fire in all 6 of her children. She instilled in them a love for theater and performance and the arts. The Travolta household was filled with music and drama and creativity. Helen later became a high school drama and English teacher, passing on that passion to countless students. But more than her professional influence, Helen was John's protector. He was the youngest of 6, sensitive and gentle, the kind of kid who needed extra care. Friends from his childhood remember that John had a vulnerability about him, something that made people want to take care of him. And Helen understood that better than anyone. When Helen was diagnosed with breast cancer, she made a choice that would break your heart. She did not tell John right away. She knew what her son had been through with Diana just 18 months earlier. She had watched him grieve, seen him struggle to put the pieces back together. She could not bear to add to his pain any sooner than necessary. Helen wanted to protect him even from her own illness. That is the kind of mother she was. But eventually she had to tell him. And when she did, John's world shattered all over again. This time John became a caregiver. He visited his mother almost every day, sitting by her bedside, trying to keep her spirits up in any way he could. And here is something beautiful and tragic at the same time. John would perform for his mother. He would sing and do little musical numbers, anything to bring light to her darkest days. It is a testament to their relationship, to the bond they shared through performance and art. But all the songs in the world could not stop what was coming. Helen Travolta died on December 3, 1978 at the age of 66. Cancer had won again. For John, it left what he described as a huge void in his life. He had now lost 2 of the most important women in his life to the exact same disease, breast cancer, in less than 2 years. And if that was not enough to deal with, his career was hitting turbulence too. The disco era that had made him a star was dying. His follow-up films were flopping. Critics were starting to question whether John Travolta was just a flash in the pan. Personal tragedy and professional crisis collided. John, still in his mid-20s, was drowning in loss and uncertainty. Most people would have given up, would have let the darkness consume them completely. But somehow he kept going. The 1980s were not kind to John Travolta professionally, but personally he was slowly healing. By 1988, he was ready to take another chance on love. While filming a movie called The Experts, he met an actress named Kelly Preston. Kelly was beautiful and talented and warm, everything John needed after years of heartache. They clicked immediately, and by 1991 they had gotten married in a midnight ceremony in Paris. It was romantic and hopeful, a fresh start for a man who had seen so much darkness. John and Kelly were not just husband and wife. They were partners and best friends, a team ready to build a family together. In 1992, they welcomed their first child, a son they named Jet. 2 years later came daughter Ella Blue, and eventually in 2010, another son named Benjamin. On the surface, John Travolta had everything: a loving wife, beautiful children, and a career that had rebounded spectacularly thanks to his critically acclaimed performance in Pulp Fiction. But life had more challenges in store, and they came in a form John never expected. Jet Travolta was born with autism and suffered from seizure disorders. The family kept this mostly private dealing with Jet's special needs away from the spotlight. John and Kelly became devoted parents, especially to Jet, who needed extra care and supervision. John rarely went anywhere without his son, always bringing him along, always keeping him close. Friends and neighbors in the Bahamas, where the family often vacationed, remember seeing John and Jet together constantly. The love and affection between them obvious to everyone. John was the kind of father who would do anything for his kids, and Jet was his world. On January 2, 2009, the Travolta family was on vacation in the Bahamas, celebrating the new year at their home in the West End resort. Jet, now 16 years old, had a history of seizures, typically experiencing one every 5 to 10 days. The family had taken precautions, employing 2 nannies, installing alarms on bathroom doors, doing everything possible to keep Jet safe. But around 10:05 in the morning, one of the nannies woke John and Kelly with news that would destroy them. Jet was unresponsive on the bathroom floor. John ran downstairs and immediately started performing CPR on his son. He fought to save him, doing everything he could, but it was too late. Jet had suffered a seizure and hit his head on the bathtub. The injury was fatal. At just 16 years old, Jet Travolta was gone. The family attorney later said that John never dreamed this could happen, that their relationship was so close and so special. "To bury your son is the worst thing you can ever do," he said. And John was heartbroken in a way that words could not capture. But the nightmare did not end there. In the aftermath of Jet passing, an ambulance driver and a former Bahamian senator attempted to extort $25 million from John and Kelly. They threatened to release private information about Jet's death, trying to profit from the family tragedy. John testified at a high-profile trial, but eventually the stress became too much for the family to bear and he dropped the case. The whole ordeal added layers of trauma to an already unbearable situation. In 2010, Kelly gave birth to Benjamin, and John told reporters that the baby had given their house a renewed spirit. They were healing slowly, finding ways to honor Jet's memory while moving forward. John created the Jet Travolta Foundation to help children with special needs. But even as they rebuilt their lives, and even as joy returned in small moments, cancer was waiting in the shadows, ready to strike one more time. In 2018, Kelly Preston received news that must have felt like a curse coming full circle. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, the same disease that had taken Diana Hyland and Helen Travolta decades earlier. For John, it had to be a waking nightmare, a cruel repetition of history playing out again. But Kelly made a choice that speaks volumes about her character and her desire to protect her family. She kept her diagnosis almost completely private. She did not make public statements, did not share her battle on social media, did not seek sympathy or attention. Instead, she fought quietly, receiving treatment at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, one of the best cancer facilities in the world. For 2 years, Kelly underwent chemotherapy and radiation. Whatever treatments her doctors recommended, she kept working when she could. Appearing alongside John in the 2018 film Gotti, where she played Victoria Gotti to his John Gotti. It would be her last film role, though nobody knew it at the time. After the Gotti premiere, Kelly essentially disappeared from the public eye. No more red carpets, no more interviews, no more Instagram posts showing the picture-perfect family life. Those close to the family knew something was wrong, but Kelly's privacy was respected. John watched his wife battle the same enemy that had taken his first love and his mother. He had been through this twice before, knew how it ended, but still hoped that maybe this time would be different. Maybe modern medicine had advanced enough. Maybe Kelly would be the one to beat it. He supported her through treatments, cared for their children, tried to keep life as normal as possible. But cancer does not care about hope or fairness or how much you have already suffered. On July 12, 2020, Kelly Preston lost her battle with breast cancer. She was 57 years old, gone too soon, leaving behind John and their 2 children, Ella and Benjamin. John announced her passing on Instagram, with a message that was both heartbreaking and dignified. He thanked the doctors and nurses at MD Anderson, thanked their friends and loved ones who had been there. He promised to take time away to be there for his children who had now lost their mother. The post was simple and raw and honest. Everything you would expect from a man who had become an expert in grief. For John Travolta, this marked the third time breast cancer had stolen someone he loved. Diana at 41, his mother at 66, and now Kelly at 57. 3 women. 3 separate decades, the same devastating disease. Add yet tragic passing and you have a level of loss that most people cannot even imagine. How does someone survive that? How do you wake up every morning knowing that cancer has haunted your life for over 40 years? How do you trust in love or in life or in the future when so much has been taken? In the months following Kelly passing, John Travolta did something unexpected. He opened up about grief in a way that most celebrities never do. In a series of interviews, he shared what he had learned through decades of loss, and his words resonated with millions of people dealing with their own heartbreak. John explained that mourning is deeply personal, that everyone's journey through grief is different. He had learned that you cannot rush it, cannot force it, cannot let other people's sadness overwhelm your own process. John admitted that after Kelly died, he felt saturated with everyone else's grief. People reached out with love and support, which he appreciated, but their sadness sometimes felt bigger than his own, leaving no space for him to actually mourn. He realized that the first thing you should do when experiencing grief is go to a place where you can process it without interference. Otherwise, it becomes like 2 boats sinking together, he said, and that does not help anyone. His advice was simple but profound. Allow people to live through their grief. Do not complicate it with yours. For several years after Kelly passing, friends said John was just existing. He was going through the motions, caring for Ella and Benjamin but not really living. The spark that had defined him, that charisma and joy, it seemed dimmed by endless loss. He focused on his children, helping Ella pursue her acting career, raising Benjamin, making sure they were okay. But somewhere in that process of caring for them, John forgot to care for himself, and then something shifted. By 2024, 4 years after Kelly's death, John started showing signs of genuine healing. He took Ella to the Paris Olympics, a spontaneous trip filled with 5-star hotels and Michelin-starred restaurants and museum tour and sporting events. Friends noticed a change in him, a lightness they had not seen in years. He started traveling more, enjoying life luxuries, making up for lost time. People who knew him well said the old John was back, that he was finally ready to embrace living again. John has not stopped honoring Kelly's memory. He posts tributes on her birthday and on Mother's Day, keeping her present in their lives while also moving forward. He has learned to talk about death openly with Benjamin, helping his youngest son understand that grief is natural but does not have to define you. When Benjamin expressed fear that John might die too, John gently explained the differences, offering comfort while being honest. It is the kind of parenting that comes from experience, from having navigated loss multiple times and learning how to survive it. At 70 years old, John Travolta is in what he calls a good emotional and physical place. He is traveling the world, checking items off his bucket list, being extraordinarily generous with his time and resources. He pilots his own planes, takes his kids on adventures, surrounds himself with friends who make him laugh. He is not running from grief. He is choosing to celebrate life while keeping the memories of those he lost close to his heart. Kelly will always be part of his life, he said. But that does not mean he cannot enjoy living. And that is the lesson John is teaching all of us. That there is life after devastating loss. That you can honor the dead while still choosing joy. That survival is not just about breathing, but about truly living even when the pain never completely goes away. John Travolta's story is not just about tragedy, though there has certainly been plenty of that. It is about something deeper, something that speaks to the core of human resilience. This is a man who has lost 3 women he loved deeply to the same disease, watched his teenage son die suddenly, faced attempted extortion during his darkest moment, and still found the strength to keep going. Most people would crumble under a fraction of that weight, but John did not. He bent, he broke, He spent years learning how to breathe again, but he survived. What makes John's journey so powerful is his willingness to be vulnerable about it. In an industry that often demands perfection and strength, John has been refreshingly honest about grief, about struggle, about the messy reality of loss. He has shown that it is okay to not be okay, that healing is not linear, that everyone's path through darkness looks different. His openness has helped countless people dealing with their own losses feel less alone, less broken, more understood. There is something profoundly moving about watching John Travolta rediscover joy at 70 years old. After everything cancer has taken from him, after burying his son, after decades of heartbreak, he is choosing to live fully. He is traveling with his children, creating new memories, allowing himself to smile and laugh and experience the world beauty again. It does not mean he has forgotten Diana or his mother or Kelly or Jet. It means he is honoring them by not giving up, by showing that love is stronger than loss, that life continues even when you think it cannot. John once said that if he dies tomorrow, the last thing he wants to see is everyone around him sunk in sadness. That perspective earned through unimaginable pain is a gift to all of us. It is permission to grieve fully but not forever, to remember lovingly but not obsessively, to move forward without guilt. There is life after cancer, not just for those who survive the disease, but for those of us left behind when it takes someone we love. John Travolta's story proves that the human spirit is more resilient than we often give it credit for. Even when cancer returns again and again, even when loss seems endless, there is still hope, there is still possibility, there is still joy waiting on the other side if we are brave enough to reach for it. And if John Travolta, who has endured more than most of us can imagine, can find his way back to living fully, then maybe we all can. So here is the real question. What can we learn from John's journey? How does his story change the way we think about grief and loss and survival? Have you or someone you love faced similar battles with cancer? How did you find the strength to keep going when it felt impossible? John Travolta is still dancing, still flying, still living, and that is the most beautiful ending we could ask for.